Welcome to the Shower Epiphanies podcast, where we explore your hidden thoughts and desires, revealing your greatest drop the mic moments. Now, here's your host, Art Costello.
Welcome to the Shower Epiphanies podcast. Today, I am honored to have Rochele Marie Lawson. She's an RN, an author, a radio show hostess, kind of a Renaissance woman that does a little bit of everything. She's a holistic health coach, does all kinds of great stuff, but it doesn't do me any good to talk about it. I'm going to let her take it away. Welcome to the show, Rochele. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Thank you, Art, for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Can you tell us your story and how you got started and what the important things that have gone on in your life that makes Rochele Lawson?
It makes me the queen of feeling fabulous. Yes, I can. So I have actually two tracks, and one is my health and well-being track, and then my other track is my success as an entrepreneur for the last 30 years. So I'll start with the health and well-being. That's near and dear to me, and I always say that your health and well-being, your wellness, is the greatest asset. It's the greatest wealth that anyone can have, because without your wellness, your well-being, mind, body, spirits, emotionally, you cannot live the life of your dreams and you cannot step into your true purpose. And so health and well-being is very dear to me. I've been a registered nurse for almost 30 years, and I have my own journey with health and well-being. I was sick for 17 years and began incorporating holistic wellness practices into how I live my life and what I did, and received a nice little download that gave me steps of what I needed to do. And in 9 months, I was completely cured after suffering for 17 years. And I'm just cutting it really short. But what I suffered was, and by the time I figured it out, what I knew what it was, and I wasn't getting help from probably at least 100 doctors I went to over that 17-year period. What I had was a bleeding ulcer. Now, I was already a nurse, so I knew I was having signs and symptoms of that. However, I wasn't a type of person that wanted to do traditional medicine because I had been suffering so long. I didn't want to take something that was going to cause something else to flare up or occur in me or manifest. And so I really wanted to try natural things, but didn't know what to do, how to do it. And lo and behold, I was doing things already. It was just a very specific sequence of steps that I got in the download while I was meditating that I followed precisely. And those steps cured me in 9 months. It was amazing. So I have to thank God, because I don't know where the knowledge came from. It wasn't in my head, particularly in the sequence that it came to me. So that is very near and dear to me. And as my background as a registered nurse, emergency room background, trauma, I did like the hardcore stuff, but I was able to share my wisdom and my information knowledge with patients that I was taking care of in the emergency room, and watch. It was amazing. Watch things manifest positively for them while they were under my care. But also I would have these patients come back to me and want to see me and thank me for whatever I shared with them that helped turn their life around. And I worked 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. So if they were coming back, it was some serious biz, right? So that is my passion. And I'm here to share with everyone that you can be healthy and well holistically and naturally, as well as incorporate Western medicine modalities into your well-being so that you can begin to feel better, look better, be better, and do everything you're meant to do. Now, that's the one track. That's the wellness track. So I have a whole business around health and well-being. But when I was a youngster, I was really gung-ho. And so I had originally got a degree as an electrical engineer. Up in Silicon Valley in the 80s. Unfortunately, I could not get a job in the late 80s as an electrical engineer because I looked like I was 12. I was a female. There was no sexual discrimination laws per se, or any thought of that concept, right? And what I would hear is, we would love to hire you. Oh my gosh, you did everything so well. You're intelligent. We find that you know what you're doing. You pass everything. But you're going to be working with men that are your father's age. And so we have to figure out how to make them comfortable. So we'll give you a call. Well, I never got that call. And I can tell you, I interviewed with IBM, Hewlett Packard. I was in Silicon Valley, the 80s. Think defense contracting was huge. I even interviewed with FMC, which was a huge defense contractor. IBM, Intel, Hewlett Packard, all the big boys. And I could not get a job. So my husband he got the electrical engineering degree. Funny, he got a job. But he got a job in a new evolutionary technology, which was telecommunications. And basically back then, they were just running voice cable. Now, back then, we only had a pager. People that had a cell phone in their car were they had to be like CEOs of Fortune 1000 companies, right? They had to be big time, right? So it was only had a pager. But voice communications was amping up, and they were changing the modality that the communications with voice was traveling on. He was installing coax cable and I think Cat 3 voice cable, something like that.
The need to have closure in any given situation is sheer human nature. And when it comes to romantic relationships, this desire skyrockets. Has your previously failed relationship left you in immense pain? It's not uncommon for people to shy away from a new relationship after their first one fails miserably. The fear of the unknown makes them hide in a shell to prevent any future heartbreak. Relatable? Despite wanting to love and be loved, you can't take the plunge if your mind and heart are still locked somewhere in the past. Maybe you aren't aware of the power of releasing the past, or perhaps you don't know how to do it. Art Costello in his online course teaches the art of moving on from bad places to happier, more stable ones. This course can change your life for good, helping you beat all kinds of negativity on the road to eternal bliss. Sign up now before the gloominess gets the better of you at expectationacademy.com.
Anyways, he had a job, and I'm like, well, we should start a business ourselves, and we could do this ourselves. Now, granted, I'm working in the emergency room at night, and he's like, well, I said, all the customers are asking for you. They don't want anybody to come out but you. We can do this. And so with a little pushing him, we started a telecommunications installation company installing voice, and then it became data, and now it's just blossomed into wireless and a bunch of stuff. But it was really interesting. So I would work the emergency room at night, and then I would run cable with him during the day in the beginning. And then we were making good money. So I still like my emergency room stuff, and I only worked part-time. And so then we started hiring people, and it took off. But our very first customers, believe it or not, was a very large financial institution that is still our customer today, Citibank. I don't know if I could say that. And then the accounting firms of Ernst & Young. Mm-hmm. I remember my very first project with them was like a $60,000 project. And we were this is in the 80s. We were so like, and then also KPMG, another accounting firm. So we fell into the financial arena. Now I still own that business today. It's still very successful. We still have a lot of our customers that we've had customers for over pretty much almost 30 years, 25 years, longevity with our customers. We do great work. The business has been a top 50 woman-owned business in Silicon Valley several consecutive years. And so I shared the aspects of both because it gives people a well-rounded vision of me. I'm the type of girl that I was a little tomboy growing up because I was the only girl in my whole entire family. And it seemed like every neighborhood we lived in, I was the only girl. So I grew up playing baseball and football and tackle and whatever, smear the queer, whatever, right? And because if you wanted to play back then, you want to play by yourself. So you had how it was back in the day. Kids in the neighborhood would come, be 4 or 5 kids coming to your door asking you to come out and play, you, your siblings or whatever. And we played outside. Always the little girl around the boys. Even when I was growing up, high school and things, I always hung out with the guys. It was just a natural fit. But I was very girly girl. So it was kind of funny. So for me to basically go beyond the odds, and think of me in the 80s and late 80s, starting a business. Like I said, there was no sexual discrimination, no anything like that. And having this business in a male-dominated industry, I was the only female business owner in that arena because it's construction. And having the guys tell me, I would go to meetings and they'd be like, who are you? Whose secretary are you? We're not going to let you, you think you're going to come and play in our world? Oh, look, little girl, you just wait and see, right? And I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, being secretly competitive. Oh, watch me. I am going to play in your world, and not only I'm going to play, I'm going to be successful. So I have really good entrepreneurial, I think, wherewithal and intuitiveness.
DNA.
It must be. I don't know. But however, I have to still thank God for that. And then the other thing is, because I think a holistic girl in context, that I do everything natural as possibly as I can. I'm not on any pharmaceuticals, but yet my health is phenomenal. And I have this little running joke that I'm 29, and every birthday I'm turning 29. And so funny because people think like, oh my God, well, how old are you? And I'm like, I'm not really 29, but I feel like I'm 29. And therefore, if you feel it, you believe it, you have conceived it in your mind, that's the energy you exude out. So anyways, the holistic part is just always something, especially since my journey with it, that I wanted to share. And I'm really intuitive. And I think that has probably made me a really good nurse when I was in clinical practice, because I was intuitive. I could see things in people before they manifested. I would feel them. I would have conversations many times with the doctors, and they might be thinking it's something. And I'm like, no, I think it's this. And then that'd be right. Or I think we need to do this test. So I was really intuitive. And again, it's just, I think, a gift from God. But I think the reason that he's bestowed upon me the wisdom and knowledge and integrity and perseverance, drive, determination, all of that with regards to being an entrepreneur and a healthcare expert is because that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to share this information with people and let people know that you can do both. I mean, you can do it quite successfully and stress-free. Now, there's always going to be stress in our life, but it's what you do and how you handle it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. What you do and how you handle it that makes the difference.
What I found interesting to me is you saying that your intuitiveness helps you in the medical field. And I think that your intuitiveness probably is what makes you successful in the business and entrepreneurial world. Because as entrepreneurs, we have to have the foresight to see what's coming and be able to adjust it and know and just have a feeling. Do you trust your gut? Oh
my goodness, yes, because I learned a huge lesson. I've always been that kind of girl, right? That just kind of, I don't want to say out there, but just a little different, saw things a little differently, was kind of vocal about it. So naturally, my intuitiveness, I say, is a reflection of me. Sees things that I can't see and is pretty vocal about it, right? Like it's very loud how I get the interpretations. But that happened after I learned there was something that I got an intuitive feeling about, and I didn't follow through because I was rushed and I was trying to get out the house to do something. Because I didn't follow the intuitiveness of just double checking, I came back home to just a nightmare, right? It was just, I'm like, only if I would have just checked this wouldn't have happened. And so from that moment forward, that was just like loud. And it was like something that I would say had a lasting effect for a while that I didn't listen. And so there was this constant reminder of my intuitive self saying, you need to pay attention. I'm not coming to you if it's not something you need to pay attention to. You get bombarded with those kind of thoughts and visions all day long. But when I'm coming to you and I'm being pretty vocal, let's say loud about it, you need to pay attention. And so, yeah, I mean, most of the time I would pay attention. Don't get me wrong. But after that incident, I pay attention wholeheartedly and I'm never, ever wrong.
Yeah, we all learn that. I learned it at a really, really young age to listen to myself because of the chatter and the negativeness that was around me at 9. And it was the way that I protected myself and listening to my inner self and following that voice versus following all the distractions that were out there. Because if I had followed the distractions, my life would have been a total different course. I mean, I believe in people really listening to their inner self and their intuitiveness. And I train people to do that, to really identify and get into themselves. Most people are afraid of it. They're afraid. They just don't trust it. And it's the one thing that you have that'll never steer you wrong. I mean, it can be in relationships. It can be in business. It can be in medicine. It can be in a ton of things. I lost my wife in 2006 to ovarian cancer. And in 2003, she was diagnosed. But for about 5 years before that, she was complaining about stuff. And I kept on saying, you need to go see a doctor and do this and this and this and this. And all the doctors, oh, you're just a woman, you know, the bloatedness around your stomach is just your women things and all that. And I kept telling her, no, we both know something's wrong. And it wasn't until we got a doctor that listened that she got diagnosed. So by then it was too late.
Yeah. I mean, sorry to hear that about your wife, because I totally get it. But yes, you're right. It's, you know what I have to say, it's better than listening to your mama, because it will never ever lead you wrong. And your mom might become a little biased and dismayed by your character and your personality, but your intuition always right. It's always on, as the kids say, always on point. So yeah, I agree with you.
I wonder how we can get people, do you have any tips to help people get to believing in themselves, in that inner voice versus the chatter that's around? Do you have any tips and techniques that you could share?
I do. You said one thing a few minutes ago with regards to that you think it's something that you share with people and you think that most people are afraid to tap into their intuition. Mm-hmm. There could be a few reasons behind that. You know, sometimes how we're raised and information that's bestowed upon us, right? We don't have a chance to seek out and say, research the information. We just take it because we're kids, and kids learn from their environment, right?
Yeah, religious.
Like, even simple thing of taking time to meditate.
Yeah, religious beliefs, all kinds of things come in.
Yes, exactly.
Causing people to live in a fear space.
Exactly. And so I would share is, and I don't mean to cut you off, did I?
No, you're fine.
Okay. What I would share with people is the first thing you can do, and if you're a religious type of person, I tend to be more spiritual, but if you're a religious type of person, the first thing you can do is you can meditate. And when you meditate, and there's all kind of ways to meditate. You don't have to sit for an hour like, the Tibetan monks or anything like that. There's all kind of ways to meditate. Prayer is a form of meditation. Mm-hmm. So if you really want to begin to tap into your intuitive self, take a few minutes each day to just get quiet and meditate. Whether you just sit there and get quiet for a minute, start with just being still, being quiet, controlling your thoughts. The only thing that we can ever control is our thought, right? That's the only thing we can control. We can't control our heartbeat. We can't control our blood. We can't control how fast we breathe. We can do it for a little while, but it naturally falls back into its natural patterns. But the only thing we can control is our thought. So if
no, I'm going to disagree with you. There's something else prior to your thoughts that you can control.
Well, share.
It's your expectations. See, we are in the process of thinking. The first thing, that's why I call my show Shower Epiphanies, because we have these epiphanies that go off in our mind all the time. And when we're cognizant of them and believe in them and listen to them, they lead to expectations. Expectations are what focuses our life, either in a positive or a negative way, because we look at our expectations through faith and fear. So once you control that, then you're on the right track. I just gone into it.
I see, and I'm thinking, well, if you have an expectation, it has to start with a thought, because you're expecting. So they go hand in hand. We're going to say they go hand, but
they are.
You can control. So by taking a minute and just quieting your mind a bit, that can help, right?
I agree, 100%.
Definitely can help. And then as you do that, you might extend it for 2 minutes and then 4 and so on. But I think when you're able to sit and just be in peace and in the present moment, you're able to discover a whole new way of being within yourself, and things are revealed. So
I like to get people in a comfortable environment. For me, it's outside, outdoors. For some people, it can be sitting on a couch. I mean, we all have different places. Some people it's in the car, but I always tell people find that place where you can let go. And I think it has a lot to do with around people feeling safe. Find a place where you feel totally safe, and then you can unleash yourself and just get into your head and into your body and just let it roll.
That, you know what? It's funny because, and I meant to say that too, just find a place of comfort where you won't be disturbed. When my daughter was little, I was still doing the emergency room stuff, and then had transitioned more to an operational part with the telecom business. But when she was little, she was about 2, I would go hide in my closet because every time I would start to meditate, she would find me. It was like she was magnetic, right? I was magnetic. I could be in the kitchen. She'd come downstairs. I could have probably been up in the attic. She would find a way to climb down. I mean, so I would go hide in my closet. And that was kind of one place. She got wise to it after a while, but I would go hide in the closet. And I had a nice walk-in closet, so I could go hide in there, close the door. My thing is like I could turn off the light. So it was just great. It was quiet. I wouldn't be disturbed. I know that within, quote unquote, the darkness, I was going to have lots of light. It was just a really beautiful experience. So that's what I would share with people. And also with regards to being fearful about it, don't have any fear. If you have difficulties with overcoming fear, there are a lot of things you can do, but don't have any fear. And if you are fearful, just acknowledge it and then practice something that we're saying. Take time to just get quiet, meditate, or just get quiet. Don't even want to put the connotation of meditation on. Get quiet and be safe and comfortable in a spot where you won't be disturbed for a little while.
What I tell people with fear, if you're fearful, you're lacking in faithfulness. And faithfulness is not always about a religious connotation with faithful or being in faith. Faith can be in yourself. It's probably a strong sense of faith. Parent, yes. Coach, teacher. I mean, anybody. You can have faith in people, but really it's really, really, really important to have faith in yourself. And one of the things that has always gotten me through is that I know no matter what happens to me, both positive and negative, no matter what happens to me, it's all going to be okay and it's all going to work out because my faith is so strong.
Right. And you know what? It's only for that moment in time, right? When it progresses on, things change. It's the ebb and flow of life. Sometimes it's the change we see may look or appear to be very slow to us. It's the ebb and flow of life. So I totally agree with you with regards to faith. My thing is with faith, I'm not going to let myself down. And if I have a thought, a concept, I'm going to give it my all. My belief is that I'm going to succeed. My faith is going to drive me to succeed. And even if I succeed in somewhat have what I would say not the most positive manner with regard to what somebody would consider a failure, there to me is not ever a failure because I'm always learning, improving my game on how to succeed.
Has anyone ever inspired you to discover a happier, healthier, and more fulfilled you? It is a magical experience, isn't it? Inspiration is indeed very powerful, yet it's often undermined. It can lift you from the ground to the sky in no time. Have you ever thought about returning the favor by inspiring the people around you? If you don't think you have it in you, we have good news for you. Art Costello's online course has everything you need to learn to supercharge yourself and shape your character into a powerful personality. Get ready to discover your strengths and unleash the creativity within. Don't believe it? Check it out yourself by signing up for this life-changing course at expectationacademy.com. That's expectationacademy.com.
Let me give you an online hug. A woman that understands my concept. In my book, I talk about that a lot because you cannot have a failure if you are learning something. And that is what every event in our life, everything that is, every person we run into, every event that we have. You know, when I lost my wife, I could have taken that. And for 3 years, it did destroy me. But once I got my head back on straight and after grieving, and I got it together. I didn't wallow in it. After that, I got busy and started living the life that I was meant to live. And it is so freeing. It is so invigorating. It makes life. And that's why you've been so successful, because you look at everything as learning experience and you have that positive attitude about everything. And your faith is so strong. Those are three of the biggest things that people have to be successful.
I thank you. Those are very kind words. I never really thought of that. I just do it. And the funny thing is, I don't want to say I'm hard on myself per se, because I'm not. Sometimes everybody can be a little hard on themselves, right? But I always try to look at what am I supposed to learn. But I never, and I know a lot about I'm too humble. I'm very, very humble. People say you're just way too humble. You shouldn't be this humble. But I don't always think of myself as a success. I just think I'm just going through life and I have things I want to do. And if I have something I want to do, I'm going to do it. And by George, I'm going to do it as best as I can. Right? That's just me. So I was having a conversation with my son. We were talking and I mentioned something about, I don't see myself as successful. And he was like, oh my gosh, Mom. And then he just started saying, look at you did this and you've done this and you've been all my life. I've watched you. And that's where I get my never give up attitude, because I've watched you, and no matter what came your way, whether it was a nice pitch over home plate and you could triple, or whether it was a pitch that was high and tight and you got called for a strike, still move forward, and you still did it with tenacity, as if one, it was your destiny, and two, totally believed in yourself. And I had to take a moment to pause and really reflect on what he said. And it was like the first time that I started thinking from a very little girl, like all the stuff I've accomplished. And I just took it as just part of life and doing what I was supposed to do and having fun, right? Or learning, so to speak. But it's just been some magnificent things. And again, you have to give thanks to God. I think what he has me here to do. So it's what I'm supposed to be doing. The message with others, right? This message.
Mm-hmm. I think that and we'll talk about mindset somewhat, but when you have the mindset of being a doer, so many people nowadays, or I don't think it's nowadays, but I think so many people through the course of history have been big talkers and little doers. Mm-hmm. And the people like you and Bill Gates, and I mean, you can go through Michael Dell, Steve Jobs and all of them. They didn't let anything ever hold them back. They just went out and did it and became doers. And when you have the mindset of a doer, I've done everything in my life. I'm older. I think I've got 20 on you. So anyway, I've never, ever let anything stop me from doing what I felt I should be doing. And I never let anybody discourage me. I just went out and did it. I've worked in the entertainment industry. I've worked in the construction industry. I've written books. I've done everything I've ever wanted to do. And I believe that that's why everybody always said, everything you touch is to gold and you're always so happy. How do you do that? Well, it's because I just do, and I don't let anything discourage me. And I see that in you. I know the audience can't see your eyes and your smile and all those things, but I feel it. Even the distance we have between us, I can feel it about you, that you're one of those people that will not let things distractions get in their way from doing what you want to do.
Yeah, that I have to say, yeah, I think you're right. I guess you're all right.
I've walked into a place and an employer that I had, because I've only worked for a few employers my whole entire life, but I walked into one of them when I was in the entertainment business, and I had the perfect job. And I set down my keys to my apartment, the keys to my car that they had gave me, and an American Express card that I could go anywhere in the world in, really. And I walked in and put that all down and said, I'm walking away from it with no idea what I was going to do. And I did it on faith, and just everything worked out. There's so many things in love and in business and all that. When you have faith, it is so huge.
I agree. And I think that's the energy that you exude out. And I must say, when I look back as you were talking, and I was reflecting, and I'm like, that's actually true. Everything that I wanted to do If I said when I wanted to become a nurse, I'm going to become, I wanted to become a registered nurse, I was going to do it. And believe me, it was challenging, right? It was quite challenging because I lived about 60 in Northern California, the Bay Area. I lived about 65 miles away from where I worked and where I was going to go to school and they make that commute. But I was determined. And then I had kids, as I kept getting more and more advanced degrees with nursing things, I had kids. I mean, it was just, sometimes I'm like, God, how come it just can't be easy for me. But I think if it was easy, I wouldn't appreciate the struggle and I wouldn't know how deep down I can dive to accomplish something that I really want to accomplish. I become laser focused and I figure the other stuff out. It also, it's challenging, but darn it, you wish it didn't happen, but you figure it out because I become laser focused on that target. And so, yeah, I harness that kind of energy. And I am a kind of energetic person when it comes to trying to exude that and trying to keep it positive because, I always look at, remember, I've seen some of the most worst cases of medical things that I've had the privilege of being able to take care of these people. And so my little stuff that I'm going through each day is nothing compared to what other people go through on a daily basis.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm thankful and I'm grateful. And the fact that I can have all these things. I wanted to do real estate. So I got a real estate license. Then, of course, just having to be a sales agent wasn't enough. Then I had to get the broker's license. I still have my broker's license today. I'm like, when I retire from doing all this other stuff, maybe I'll just go back into selling real estate. Wanted to start a business. So I start one. I'm good with that. Maybe I should do another one in a different arena. Let's do that. Here's a funny little story. So when I was a little girl, and it kind of goes back to give the listeners a little insight about me. But when I was a little girl, like I said, I played around all the boys, right? So I was about 9 years old. I was 10. And my friends were going to try out for Little League. I've been playing baseball in the neighborhood with them. So they're like, you should come too. I'm like, okay. So we rode our bikes like 2.5 miles to tryouts. And I get there. And of course, I noticed I was the only girl. But I get there and I go to fill out the little paper and they're like, oh, softball tryouts are next week. And I'm like, well, I'm not here to try for softball. I'm here to try for baseball. And so they were like, well, so then a couple of them got together and, well, you can't try out. So I'm like, okay. So I told my friends when we left the house, I said, my biggest fear is that I make it and you guys don't, right? You guys don't. So when we get there, and I couldn't try out, I'm like, oh, man, I didn't even think of anything like this. So what I did, my friends kind of helped me concoct. I had long braids. I put my braids up in my baseball cap, and I just got in line to try out, right? I got in line to try out. Nobody was really questioning me because they were all kind of busy and focused on which kids. And so it came up to me going to hit, and the coach threw the ball. And then he realized, oh, this is a girl. But he, just kind of, so he moved up a little closer and they're like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, it's that little girl. Long story short, he throws the ball, I tag it, and then he starts stepping back until he's back on the pitcher's mound. And I'm just tagging the ball. So then it was like, okay, well, let's see if what else this little girl can do. I ended up playing second base, ended up starting, getting selected, playing second base and outfield, made the All-Stars 2 years in a row. And I was this little phenom, little girl in the early 70s, that people from all over the county would come and watch and play baseball because I was the only girl playing Major League Baseball with all the boys for 2 years in a row and starting and hitting. But I was this little skinny, scrawny type of little girl. So it was kind of funny. So my thing was I wanted to make it, and I got laser focused on accomplishing at least being able to try out, right? Mm-hmm. And because I did that and I took that bold little step, now I was able to play and have fun and enjoy life. But I think I've always been like that. And so if it's something that I've always wanted to do or something that I want to do, nothing is going to stop me. I just kind of become this unstoppable girl and go out and get it.
I think that's an excellent quality for any person to have, whether you're a boy or a girl or a woman or a man. It's what determines your outcomes, how things unfold in your life, because grit and determination are essential for entrepreneurs. So how much do you think working in an emergency room prepared you for all the things, because I think when you work in an emergency room, my wife was an emergency room nurse before she became a nurse anesthetist. And I think when you see all that stuff, but the other thing about it is, because when I was working in a mental health unit in San Diego, I used to have to go up to the trauma room because of family members that were breaking down. And sometimes they got crazy patients in there that we had to work with. But I know for a fact that nurses have to deal with things very quickly and make snap decisions that really are life and death situations. And that prepares your mind to think about things a little bit different than people out there. I think I learned it in Vietnam. I'm a former Marine. And I think in Vietnam, you never know what's going to happen next. From moment to moment, you have to be prepared for the unexpected. And as in an emergency room, you have to be prepared. And it trains the mind to think and look at things differently. That's my belief. It's a great asset to have when you become an entrepreneur, because as a business owner, you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
And you've got to be able to adjust to it rapidly and make good, sound decisions on that. So I think nurses and soldiers have a lot in common.
I like how you said that when you put the analogy together, because as a Marine, you guys are the first ones to go in, and you have to kind of look at not necessarily what's right in front of you that you can see the obvious. You have to look for the not obvious stuff, the not so obvious stuff, right? You have to survey beyond what's right in front of you to be able to perceive any danger, any hostile environment, right? Same thing with the emergency room nurse or trauma nurse is you've got a lot of stuff going on. And it would be lovely if you just had one patient to focus on. Unfortunately, there was times I had 5 people having a heart attack at the same time, and then someone in the 6th bed coding, as we would say, having to manage that. So you had to perceive what was going to happen and what person was the most critical, which one you needed to keep an eye on, as well as keeping tabs on everybody else, right? But there's always one that's a little bit more critical than the others. So I think it's just being able to survey something and sum it up rapid fire. Everybody can't do it, right? Everybody doesn't have the gift, but it's okay. But being able to just look at things and survey what's possible, what is the perceived threat, so to speak, and being able to have a game plan and make adjustments as necessary is a key to, 1, managing your health and well-being successfully, and 2, being an entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur, and being able to be sustainable throughout whatever difficult or not so difficult time you may be having with the economy.
Yeah. And one of the things that I always point out to people, same things. It isn't always about the negative side of being an entrepreneur. Some entrepreneurs have an extremely difficult time dealing with great moments, the affluency that comes with it, the good things. You hear of sometimes business people get involved in things that they shouldn't be involved in because they become so affluent that they get bored and things kind of run themselves. So I work with people in both ways. One of the things that I wanted to get to in our call today, in our podcast, is I read about your 7 basic fears.
Mm-hmm.
Can you kind of explain to the audience what?
Okay, so I will start. These are I want to say the umbrella. So if you have an umbrella, and the umbrella has 7 little prongs underneath, that holds the material with 7 prongs. These would be the 7 basic fears. And then underneath each prong is a myriad of other fears. But these are the 7 basics. And the first one is the fear of criticism or being judged. Everyone has experienced that or has that or secretly has it, whatever the case may be. Fear of criticism. The next one is the fear of a loss of love. You lose a relationship, a spouse, a friend, whatever, the fear of loss of love. The next one is the fear of liberty. And this really pertains to being able to do what you want, when you want, say what you want, having liberty. It's what the country was built on, liberty, right? The loss of that, again, major prongs, is a fear. The next one is the fear of poverty. Everybody is very fearful about becoming poor, especially if you were rolling in millions, billions and millions, and now you're down in dollars and cents. That could be quite fearful. So the fear of poverty, the fear of old age, fear aging, believe it or not. And that's why we have so many things coming out right now with anti-aging and things of that nature. So the fear of aging. So I said criticism, poverty, loss of liberty, loss of fear of aging, the fear of illness or disease, and the fear of death. So, and when I say illness and disease, it can be physical pain goes along with that, but anything that falls under that, those are the 7, I would say, pillars of, or basic fears, 7 pillars of fear. And then under criticism could be anxiety, depression, anger management issues, things of that nature. Aging, it could be our skin wrinkling or our processes within our bodies not operate like, you used to go run that 5 miles and not have any muscle aches, and now you run a quarter mile and you got muscle aches for days, right?
Quarter mile would kill me.
So it's all of those things, but there's myriads of that. And I like to share with people those fears, how to overcome those fears, how to conquer those fears, in regards to your wellness, wisdom, and your wealth, so that you can just have sustainability and really step into living a life of your dreams, or enjoying the life of your dreams even more.
I write a lot about fear in my book, and it's my belief that fear originates in your expectations. That's where it all comes from. Some people fear the unknown. They build things into fear that really are not grounded in fact or all that.
Right.
But mostly, I think fear becomes a mindset, because when you look at fear, it comes around in so many different shapes, forms, and everything. I mean, I stopped using the word I'm fearless. I used to say I'm fearless because I wasn't afraid of things. I just didn't let it. But I tell you, until somebody said to me, I want you to walk a tightrope across the Grand Canyon, I said, you're right. I do have fear. We all have something that we fear. Some people can overcome the fear of heights and go and walk across the Grand Canyon. I mean, I'm not afraid of heights, but I couldn't do it. A word that I usually don't use. I couldn't, or I can't.
Right.
Usually not in my vocabulary. But when I'm thinking about that, it does inhibit me and stop me.
Yeah, that vision. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I would say I would not do that. That way
I'm with you on it. So
I would not do that.
But when we have the mindset, there's some people that everything that you bring up to them is, I can't, and I won't, and I wouldn't, and all that. And that's what stifles their lives from growing and learning from the experiences, because they let even the simplest things. My oldest son, who's a therapist in Boulder, Colorado, he's going to hate me when I tell you. When he was in his after high school and early college and all that stuff, he had a fear of escalators and elevators. And his anxiety around that was so great that it inhibited him from doing a lot of things. He finally got over it. But when he introduced him in small little steps, and you get people to start doing, they realize, hey, they make a choice. Their mindset becomes different.
Right. Yes.
Don't know which direction you want your life to take? Are you sinking deep down into the pit of uncertainties day by day? So, what's the secret to leading a happy, satisfied life? It's taking matters into your own hands. But what if the matters in question are a total blur? Art Costello's Expectation Academy course aims to tell you exactly how you can get some clarity in your life. This course can be your savior on your journey to reinventing yourself. While you certainly can't plan your whole future ahead, you can definitely control twists and turns your life takes. So what are you waiting for? Sign up for this course now at expectationacademy.com. Get a chance to broaden your horizons and add meaning to your life. That's expectationacademy.com.
What's your feelings about mindset in doing things?
Mindset, it's hugely important, because if you do not have the right mindset, then your life can be quite chaotic. And so, or if you don't know how to even go about developing the right mindset, or even knowing that your mindset is flawed, it's hugely important. I think it's the beginning manifester of all things that we experience in our life. How you perceive things based on how your mind is, quote unquote, set. If you perceive you're a failure, you will be a failure.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, if you perceive, like me, you want to be tenacious and successful, you're going to do everything in your power to be successful. And it ties in, I think, and you can tell me what your thoughts are about this, but I think it ties into the whole faith thing. They're kind of like two pieces of a puzzle that fit perfectly together. You can't have faith if your mindset is not right for that, right? And your mindset can't be right if you don't have faith.
Yeah, I talk a lot about perspective and perception. Let me give you the definition of the audience. Perspective is how you see what is, or perception is how you see what is. Perspective is when you see the big picture. And if you have a mindset, it affects your perspective and your perception and how you perceive things and how you look at the big picture of it. And it is essential to have faith in order to see it in a positive light. Because when you look at it through the lens of fear, then everything goes to the dark side, the negative. I mean, if you take a negative and a positive and try to put them together, it doesn't work. And that's basically what faith is, the opposite of fear. So you've got to have the proper perspective and the proper mindset with the proper expectations for success.
Yeah, because if you have proper mindset and proper faith, but your expectations are you're going to fail, again, it doesn't fit. It's like noise, like, versus.
Henry Ford said, "You're right if you you're right if you think you're right. You're wrong if you
if you think you can't, you can't." Right?
Yeah, that's it.
Henry Ford was, all those guys were quite amazing, but it's like, right, if you think you can't, and guess what? Most people that think they can't, because they don't have it in their mind.
Well, we're nearing our time to say goodbye, and this has gone really, really fast. I want to give you a few minutes, tell the audience where they can get a hold of you, what offerings you have for things coming up, any events you have coming up, your book. Tell us all about that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Art. It has been really fun, and it's just like gone by so fast. So thank you so much. I enjoyed the conversation immensely, for sure. With regards to me, I'm everywhere, of course. I'm on Facebook, and you can find me on Rochele Lawson, or you can look for Blissful Living. My company is called Blissful Living for You, and you can go to blissfulllivingforyou.com to find out more about what I offer with regards to wellness, wisdom, and wealth. And my podcast, everything is around blissful living, because that's my passion, is to help you have that life and have those pillars of wellness, wisdom, and wealth strong, and being able to sustain it so you can own into living your dream life. My podcast is called Blissful Living, and it's on everywhere: iHeart, Spotify, iTunes, WebTalk, and a bunch of others I don't know. And on that particular podcast, we really talk about things that fall under the pillars of wellness, wisdom, and wealth. A lot of great information, a lot of great guests. I've had that going on since 2011. So lots of good stuff. If you would like to reach out and connect with me, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Rochele Lawson. But you can also connect with me by sending me an email, or better yet, you can go to my website, blissfulllivingforyou.com, and get a free gift. And then you can connect with me there, send me an email through the website. It's probably more efficient that way than me giving you the email address. So lots of ways to get in contact with me, find me. I would love to hear from you, and just say you heard me on Art's show or whatever. Yeah, thanks, Art. I appreciate it.
No, we've appreciated having you on, and actually I'd like to do it again, because we didn't cover enough of the wellness and that end of it, because I am big into living wholesome wellness, all of those things. And I wanted to ask some questions about how that all interrelates, because I believe in not only your body, your mind, and your spirit being connected for wellness. It's so big into our mental health and all that. We'll have to do that another time when we meet up. Audience, again, it's a pleasure having Rochele on here, and it's a pleasure having you listen in. And I'm thankful that you're here, and you know where you can get a hold of me, expectationtherapy.com. And I also am everywhere. I guess that's how we roll when we're doers. We're just everywhere. So thank you, Rochele, and I appreciate it. And Heather White, you can take us out. Thank you much.
Thanks for listening to the show. Drop us your comments and questions with what you want answered on the show. You can subscribe on iTunes and Binge Network. You can also get more information on the website, expectationtherapy.com.